Hello everyone, welcome one more week to our YouTube channel CS Talks. We are here with a very special guest today, but before we continue, do not forget to subscribe, to hit the little like button so we can get more amazing stars like the one we have today. We have Heidi Gubbins today. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank
you for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. For those that you don't know, she's my neighbor here in the Golden Mile in Marbella. She has an amazing showroom, so stop by whenever you want, say hello to us. And then you stop by, say hello to Heidi. So she's gonna tell us a lot about her story today. And yeah, if you wanna start to tell me, where does Heidi Gubbins come from? What's your story?
Right, so I was born in Peru, in South America.
Peruvian.
Yes. From a very young age, my parents were always quite creative with me in the sense that they wanted me to play music, and I loved anything to do with arts and dancing. So I think all of that in a way was the foundation to where I am today in terms of my creative mind, I suppose.
Okay. But you've been in Spain for how long?
I've been in Spain, well, off and on since the first time I came to Marbella was in 1999. I came for a visit. Wow. And then I came to live here in 2004. I was here for a year and a half, 2 years. Then I went to Portugal, and then I came back in 2015. So I've been here 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like yesterday. Huh?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
No, that's fantastic. Well, for those that you don't know Heidi, she does amazing interior design, and she's going to tell us a lot about that. So you told me how you came about being a designer, but what was that day that you were in your house or in wherever and you said, okay, I want to be an interior designer? How does that work?
I don't think it was actually like that. It's not like I had this point of revelation where I was like, today I'm going to become. I think it kind of came to me in bit by bit.
All right.
I remember the first time I ever chose curtains was actually in Africa. I was there as a volunteer, and they had donated us some fabrics to put curtains in one of the schools. So I went to the factory, and they asked me which fabrics would I choose. And so I remember I chose a pattern, a black and white pattern. I was thinking about that today when I knew I was going to come talk to you. I was like, when was the first time? And then I had a friend of mine who was a painter and artist, and she was painting really cool murals there. So I think that was something that caught my eye, but I never thought that I would actually become an interior designer or use that as a part of my career.
So it was more like a natural process, starting to get creative and...
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I was more into music at the time, and so I never thought of that, but I loved people who would paint, who would work with color, and I remember just that particular friend of mine who was really into that. So it kind of made me curious, but not to a point where I would say okay, I'm going to do this, right?
All right.
And then when I was living in Portugal, I also had some friends who were either interior designers or another one was a painter. And I remember the first time I actually did anything with design was not knowing anything. Doing this little restaurant.
Okay.
So we were painting the floors, and the theme was like an American cowboy theme meets Middle Eastern cuisine because it was a mix.
Okay.
So we were painting American Indian totems on the walls and on the floors. So that was actually really fun, but I also didn't think I was going to be an interior designer back then.
Wow. Okay.
I had a band back then, so I was doing.
You had a band.
Back,
Tell me more about that.
So I was since a very young age. I loved recording. I loved writing songs. Nothing professional, just out of just something I really enjoyed. And so back then I had a band, and I was writing music.
You didn't know that, did you?
Know. So that was really fun. But like I said, it was the creative vein has always been there. But it's not like I had an aha moment of this is what I want to do.
All right. And now you have a team of designers, and you have a location, and you have so tell me a little bit about that. Like, what's Heidi Gubbins these days? What's your design philosophy, or how do you work? Tell me a bit about your business.
I think my philosophy, in a very sort of honest and sincere way, is to kind of start from zero every single time I get something on. And I think that's the one way that we can actually create things that are, and designs that are unique to the client, unique to the property, and also to us as designers, because if you're doing it every day, I think design itself is maybe 15% of the actual work involved in terms of design, and then there's like so much more technical drawings, and it doesn't seem so creative, even though it's creative too, because it's a lot of things you have to think about and find solutions. So I think that when we're actually at the drawing board and getting ideas together, we always try to like see, okay, how can we do this in a different way? How can we see the property in a different light?
But you see, that's something that I wanted to talk to you about. Like, walk me through the creative process. Like, okay, a client, because a lot of people don't really know what an interior designer does. I mean, a lot of people think of designers as decorators, and they're not decorators. So tell us a little bit about what's the creative process. Like, the client comes, and then what happens? Like, what's the whole? I mean, long
story short, there's a procedure. Someone has to contact someone. So usually a client will come and they'll say, I have a property, either it's brand new and I want to furnish it, or I want to refurbish it. The process itself on the concept, I think, is not the same every single time, because it really depends. Sometimes I go to a property and I feel super connected to something in the property, and that kind of sparks a specific idea or like I kind of see this wall becoming something, and then from there, that can be the starting point to a whole concept that we create. Other times, I may not feel anything, but then as I'm researching, I feel like, oh my goodness, that part, we can really create something cool. And so I can't say that there is a ABC.
Right.
There's a process. Obviously, you've got to start, meet the client, see what they want, what their intention is.
So getting to know the client is very important, right?
For sure, of course.
Right.
It's getting to know the client and also understanding what it is that they want. Everyone is different. And so you have to sometimes also get into the client's brain with barely knowing them. And I think that comes with having a really open mind. So if you're always thinking that, this is my style, this is what I want to do, I think you can actually limit yourself to the things that you can actually end up creating for someone who you really don't know anything about.
Yeah, but at the same time, they come to you most of the time because they like your style or your way of designing, right? How does that work though? Because it's difficult.
I think also maybe they come to me, but maybe they go to other people. I mean, it's especially in Marbella, we are so many, and it's so nice to have such a big community of designers. And I think in such a small town, which is a small big town in a way, I think that's what's nice about design. And I love that everyone has their own style, but yet again, how can you personalize it to the client without, in a way, personalizing it to yourself as a designer? So it's disconnecting now from what you think sometimes and saying, now obviously clients come to me because they like something that I've done, but then maybe I go to the house and I'm like, I think we can give it this twist. I think we can do it this way. So then it's that exploration, and I think being faithful to that is probably what helps us as a team to stay motivated and connected to what we love to do, which is to create. So if you're always creating the same thing, obviously if you have a brief and it's to do that, then of course we do it, and it's our job to do that. But if we can create something that's in a way personalized to the client, and that they feel something, because at the end it's supposed to make you feel something.
Yeah, it's an emotion in
it. It is.
Right.
And also sometimes it's not like at the beginning you know everything. It's a process. You've got to go on site, see, and then maybe an idea that you thought would work, you can maybe better it, or maybe you have to change it. So it's having that outlook about what you are doing and the purpose behind it. So I think if the client understands that they would like something specific, then we get into that, and then from there we create and give other decorative ideas or design ideas.
And is there any specific part? I mean, because you do residential, you do commercial, you pretty much do anything, and you do everything well, I have to say. I like the style. And is there anything specific that is your favorite part to design? Like, I love designing cinemas, or I love designing restaurants, or is there any one favorite part, or not really?
I think one of the things I really like is how materials work together. Okay. So like sometimes an inspiration can come from like even seeing things on a table and being like, okay, this and this, oh, I love how that looks, and then if we add this, and then you start adding on to something, then maybe afterwards it completely changes.
Right.
But it gives you this energy of like, oh, I love it, and this energy of I love it, and that you feel it actually makes you
create something.
It opens up that sort of connection to wherever the inspiration is coming from and makes you connect to that.
So that's your favorite part of the process.
Well, part of it is that,
okay.
but also when I'm looking at plans or like how we can change certain forms or spaces, or how to make it more, how would you say, a little bit more useful in terms of practicality, but at the same time building on that and making it beautiful at the same time. I love creating intrigue in a property. So like that you don't see it all in one go, so that one thing is leading you to another thing, whether it be by a light or a texture. And I love that in architecture, and how sometimes you can walk into a place and you feel
it, right? Yeah.
So this is something I like to build on, probably one of my other favorite parts.
All right.
And obviously seeing it all come together and like
all
the labor of love and sweat and tears, because a lot of times it's a tough job, and maybe not many people know about that, but looking at it and then saying, okay, I love how we did that and how that came out. Or next time I should have followed my hunch. And should have done that even though I was a little bit like on the fence.
Right.
So you learn from everything.
But in the end, the client is going to tell you if they like it or not, really. I mean.
And that's obviously when the client comes in and they're happy with it, and they are surprised in a positive way. That's probably what is so rewarding. It's like the cherry on the top. Right. It's why we do what we do.
Right, exactly.
So to create that experience for the client is
it's got to be
it's short-lived, because sometimes you deliver it and then it's like bye-bye.
Right, exactly.
And you don't really see that property many times more.
Right.
But in that little bubble of like, it's done. It's like a bittersweet, right?
Okay, all right.
So yeah, I love that too.
All right, and from what you said, I mean, you're based more on inspiration, so you don't follow trends too much, you could say, or you get some kind of trends versus the inspiration. Like, how do you combine those two?
Well, I think it's what they say, like when you hang around certain people, you become like them. So obviously, if you're constantly looking at trends as the way that you want to go forward, you will be in some way affected by it. However, sometimes I don't even look. It's like if you ask me like, what's the latest trend? Okay, yeah, I can, but I try to stay away from that, because I think trends are also really limited, because sometimes a person doesn't go that way. I mean, you can introduce ideas from trends, but then kind of personalize them to what you're doing, so it's more unique. Because otherwise, and everyone is doing the same thing and everyone's following the same line. But again, it really depends for me on the property, on the client, and if a trend is spot on, follow it.
Then you follow it, right?
For sure.
Makes sense. Okay, cool. And I mean, speaking of trends, we've seen what artificial intelligence is doing these days with all kinds of markets, all kinds of industries. I'm sure people come to you with the Pinterest page to your studio all the time and say, hey, I want exactly this, and it doesn't have anything to do with what the house looks like.
Right.
Like, where do you see the interior design industry, like from these past 3, 4, 5 years to like the future? Like, because people can actually design stuff in their computer with like 2 clicks these days. Like, of course, it's not going to be at the same level, but I mean, you're getting to see more and more tools that go into that direction. Like, where do you see that going?
I was quite like annoyed by it at the beginning, and I was quite skeptical, and I was like, well, then where do we come in as creatives? But we actually, you were there as well, that conference, and we were talking about AI and how if you look at it's really about perspective and about how it can aid you and about how you direct AI to then develop your ideas. And so I think I'm getting used to the idea now. And I can see
embracing the idea now?
I'm embracing it. I don't know how I will embrace it or like how it will help me, because I have to be honest, I haven't really used it so much. But I think if it can help the workload of things that maybe as people are difficult sometimes, I think that's fantastic.
So more of like the automated activities from the everyday, you could say?
Yes, for that. I would love that. And then also, if there's questions that you want to ask, for instance, I don't know, about a certain height or the light or the dynamic or a texture, like how would that actually impact this specific space based on the dimensions and the natural light that comes in. I think certain things, because sometimes our job is like on demand, and you've got to be creative on demand and with a short time span of anything that it can help you with, so that so that you can also learn from it.
You're welcome.
I'm happy about that, like from that perspective.
All right.
But I wouldn't want to say like, hey, design me something and then tell the client, like that would go against my core, because it's not honest, at least in my. But if it can help you develop and create interiors that are helping you become a better designer, well, then why not?
Okay. And how do you see because I'm sure there's got to be a change, like before COVID and after COVID, like how people now are actually coming to Marbella to actually live the whole year. And before, you got to design more vacation homes, and now maybe you're doing more residential long-term homes. Has that changed a bit for you, or you haven't seen that trend like architects, or because people are actually moving here now for the whole year? So I don't know how you see that.
Well, I suppose that if you're living here, obviously there will be things on the brief that the client will ask for specifically, based on that they have kids or pets, or we're going to be here all year round, so we need a specific space for every day at the end of the day, or whatever it may be. Okay. But you just follow that. So for me, a home, I think we've designed, or we always design for both. So it would be part of a natural conversation that we would have had with the clients. Okay. So yeah. But yeah, of course, now there's more people coming in, staying longer, or like half time here and half time somewhere else. Whereas before it may have just been a summer, or like Easter or Christmas or something. Yeah,
right, exactly.
So yeah, I think it's important now to ask that question: will you be living here? And it's in our brief anyway. So we have a little brief that we give to the clients just from the start, and then they give like the main pointers of what the house or the property is going to be used for, and then we take it from there. Cool.
So yeah, we're actually almost finished now. So it's amazing. I only want to give you like 3 questions, like 3 very, very short questions.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite color?
For what?
Okay, expected that from an interior designer.
Okay, so like for a dress, I've always loved emerald green.
Emerald green. It's not just green like for men. It's emerald green.
It's like an emerald green.
All right.
Yeah, I've always wanted to have this one dress, and it's like I love it.
Okay.
I haven't found it. I love
That's
it.
for dressing.
That's for dressing.
Okay.
And that specific dress, because then there's other colors I love. For interior design, wow. Okay. I think it's also like pattern based for me.
Pattern based.
So like there's certain patterns with a combination of colors that can be like so amazing. It's how it makes me feel. So.
All right.
But if I have to say like what would be like my natural way, I love caramel tones. I love sort of earthy tones.
Okay. All right.
Having said that, I also love the combination of that with, say, a sage, and like how to combine the colors. And I love seeing designers when they're bold with their colors. It's not something that I would naturally do.
All right.
But when they're blending, like, let's just say like a deep blue with an aqua, and then like a turquoise, and all together it looks super cool, and you would have never thought that would work. I love to see that other people are so good at that.
I think it's amazing how you designers describe colors. I mean, I always found it amazing. Yeah, because sometimes it's blue or light blue or dark blue. Yeah. But then there's like 17 millions of blue, right? And then you guys describe it with that passion, I guess, right?
You know what I love doing is going to like either wallpaper books or fabric books or paint swatches, and when they name their colors something super cool, I don't know, like, well, I did one the other day because I was looking at a piece of wood. I'm like, what am I gonna call that tone? So I called it Japanese intent. And for me, I was like, when I look at that, I'm like, yes. It's like, I know it's silly, but at the same time, it like makes you feel there's a story behind it. So I think behind a color, there's a story. Behind a texture, there should be, or a little story that's personal to you. All right. That you can then adapt it to then the overall story of what you're trying to create.
Right, wow.
So lots of favorite colors.
No, I can see that. I can see that with different names as well.
Different names.
And one question that I always had for designers, how are you able to combine the cushions with absolutely everything in the room? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you pick the combination with the cushions? Because they all look so different, but in the end, you see the photo and you see the space, and you're like, it goes with everything.
Yeah. Many times, if at least for me, if there is like a neutral palette, then for me, maybe with the cushions, I like to go a little bit more deep in tone. And sometimes, not that I like to match a cushion, say, with a piece of art. I personally don't like to do that.
Okay.
I don't.
All right.
But if you can catch on very discreetly, I know, either whether it be on a piping or on a texture or on a pattern.
That really depends on where you're going to look at.
Right.
Right.
So for instance, we did a photo shoot not too long ago in a penthouse.
All right.
And there was like this blue and it was like an aqua color with like a light blue and a brown, like, anyway, that was the artwork. And the cushions had nothing to do with that.
But it came together well.
But what I liked is that we were using this like Chinese red on the coffee table, and then the patterns on the fabrics were like a deeper version of that, and then with a black and white. So I don't really think that I can say like, how do I do it every time? Because it really depends on what the concept is. Do you know what it does?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it does.
But I also think there's some designers that do really well with their tone on tone and how they layer that. I think sometimes you don't need any color, and it can just with the textures, it can be really amazing. So
such a process, huh?
Yes, it is.
You love it, huh? You can tell in your face.
Yeah, yeah. When I start thinking about all these fabrics,
you can tell. I mean, your face just brightens up.
Yeah,
It's just amazing. So tell the people where they can come and see you, and
okay.
Yeah.
So I've got my studio next to Charly.
Yeah.
So if you follow Charly, you can follow me. I don't have a YouTube channel yet.
Not yet.
But I'm on Instagram.
You are?
At Heidi.Gubbins. My website is HeidiGubbins.com.
Correct.
And yeah, so it'd be lovely that you follow us and see our work. And if you have any things that inspire you, share them, because I think that's what this is all about, being inspired and inspiring. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
No, I mean,
I was so nervous.
I'm gonna tell the people to come and see you, even for a coffee, because I mean, you have an amazing showroom, first of all. And then I think it's worth having, 20 minutes of your time having a coffee with Heidi, because she's gonna inspire you in so many ways. So thank you for being here, Heidi, today. I hope you had some fun. It wasn't that bad, was it?
It was long overdue. We talked about having a talk like 3 years ago.
We did.
So it happened today.
There you go.
Last day of January 2024.
Anyway, so that's gonna be it for this week. Stay tuned for next week's guest. I hope it's at the same level, at least, than Heidi this week. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the little thumbs up button for more content like this coming your way. And I will see you next week. Thank you for being there.